Good morning, people. Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United news and talk. And as always, we're back with a massive show for you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So on the show this morning, we're mainly going to be focusing around a big story that came out last night about the Manchester United takeover. We'll, of course, be giving our opinions on it. And I always ask that you get involved in the comment section. You let me know how you're thinking because I do always like to see you guys' opinions. So let's jump straight on into it. Now, there was a lot of fear mongering going on last night. There was a lot of doom and gloom. I was out all day yesterday, so I wasn't online. Obviously, there was a couple of pre-recorded videos that went live. I didn't have signal all day. Got signal about 11 o'clock, and I see all these stories circulating on the internet saying Manchester United takeover is over. Everybody's saying, you know, they're not selling anymore. Doom and gloom, all the rest of it. Blah blah blah. Which, you know, how many times have we had that same story over the last 8 months? I mean, every other week we get that story. Every other week we get that the club's been sold to Qatar. It just rinse and repeats over and over again, doesn't it? Now, I get it. People get emotional about it. People go on Twitter. People get all reactionary. I get it. And people believe every single thing they saw. But for me, I just, so let's just break down where the stories come from, all right? So the story's coming out from the Mail Sport, which is probably the most trash newspaper. Well, it is the most trash newspaper possible. And this isn't even, I think this was going to be in the Daily Mail this morning. So in the Sunday paper. And if anybody who lives in the UK knows, usually on Sunday is when they put out their big clickbait headlines because ultimately they want to sell papers. It's the Sunday paper. It's the one where they usually get the most sales. So this story came out last night saying that Manchester United will officially be taken off the market by the Glazer family after bidders failed to reach their asking price in a huge blow to furious fans. It then goes on to say the Glazers are holding out for £10 billion for the club. So obviously this story came out. People on Twitter saying it's over, they're staying, blah, blah, blah. We then get a couple more bits coming out from the same article from the Mail Sport. I think it's a guy called Alex Miller. I've never heard of the guy. He says the logic for taking Manchester United off the market now, says the source, is that the Glazers family will try to sell the club again in 2025 when they hope financial and environmental factors may attract more bidders. So again, if you read this quote very, very carefully, right, he immediately says the source. So he's quite quickly deferring any blame from himself. So he's clearly got this information from somewhere. But that doesn't mean that it's true, does it? You know, you don't get Fabrizio Romano coming out with this. We haven't had Laurie Whitwell. We haven't had Reuters. We haven't had Bloomberg. We haven't had any of the big financial institutions coming out saying the sale's over. We've had one newspaper who is probably, well, it is the worst newspaper in the UK. It's literally gutter press. Printing this story for their Sunday headline, and people are literally going into some mad emotional frenzy about it, which I get because people really want the takeover to happen. I understand why people are upset about it, but to believe this story, I just think is a bit naive personally. And that's why I wanted to talk about it this morning, because I wanted to get you guys' opinions on it. I wanted to see how you're feeling about it. I think 10 billion is a stupid asking price as well. I don't think they want 10 billion. I think somewhere between 7 and 8 is more realistic. I can't imagine them ever getting anything close to £10 billion. Like, that is ridiculous. Maybe 10 billion including the debt. Maybe 10 billion including, you know, 2 or 3 billion worth of pledged investment. Something like that. Yeah, I can get it. You know, if it was 6 billion for the club, 1 billion for the debt, and 3 billion for the stadium. Yeah, 10 billion. If someone bought the club for 10 billion and then had to spend 1 billion to pay off the debt, 3 billion for the stadium, probably 1 to 2 billion for the infrastructure and players, by the time the people have come in and done all the things they've promised, it would have been costing them somewhere between 15 and 20 billion, which nobody's going to do. No matter how much you want Manchester United, no one's that stupid to spend 15 billion pounds plus on a club, which at the moment is, you know, it's on the up, but we've won 1 trophy in the last 5 years. Like, come on. No one's going to spend that type of money. So, yeah, I think this story is just a load of rubbish personally. Last weekend, just to give you a bit of context as well, all right, just so everybody can understand where I'm coming from with the Daily Mail. So last Sunday, the Daily Mail printed a story saying that the Manchester United takeover has now been agreed with Qatar, and that they will be taken over by October. So 1 week ago to the day, exactly the same newspaper said that the takeover was done, the sale had been confirmed to Qatar, and that by, I think it was mid-October, they had a specific date, mid-October, the new owners would come in. 1 week later, they're now saying that the Glazers are staying. I mean, how can they think people are that stupid? It's just clearly a clickbait Sunday headlines thing, and obviously people have gone absolutely crazy about this one. You know, it's trending on Twitter. Everybody's talking about it on the internet, on videos, and all the rest of it. And it's like, I get it. Like, people are upset, people are frustrated, but so this story came out, and then literally about half an hour later, Ben Jacobs, who has been really, really good around the takeover. I know some people like him, some people dislike him. I think he's quite a good journalist. I think he's been good around the takeover specifically. I hadn't personally heard of him before this whole takeover process started, so I'm only going to judge him based on this takeover because I had never heard of him before that. But around the takeover, he has been really, really good. And he has said the following. This was late last night. He says, I understand that the Manchester United sale process is still ongoing and little has changed. No sale is always one possibility, especially in light of the expanded Club World Cup. Those clubs to the Qatar side have said for some time they think their main rival is a no sale, not Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And you know what? I agree with every single bit of what Ben Jacobs has said there. The most important bit is the first two lines where he says that he understands that the sale process is still ongoing and little has changed. So you've got the Daily Mail coming out saying that the takeover is over. And then half an hour later, you've got another journalist coming out saying that nothing has changed. So, it clearly is just a rubbish story. It clearly is. And I think we just have to dismiss it until it comes out from Manchester United, until it comes out from, Bloomberg, Reuters, Financial Times, big business institutions. Because the thing you have to remember is Manchester United is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So a sale of a company of this magnitude, I know it's a club to us, but in the eyes of business, it's a company, right? A sale of a company of this magnitude is obviously going to attract financial publications, your Financial Times, your Bloombergs, and all the rest of it. So I'm never going to believe the Daily Sport or whatever it was on a Sunday newspaper. I mean, the Daily Sport will probably be saying that we're signing Kylian Mbappe next week. Like they just put out complete rubbish. But let me know how you're feeling about this one this morning. Obviously, like the Glazers have to go. If you actually look at this fundamentally, they don't have the money to do it. They don't have the money to build the stadium. They don't have the money to invest in the team properly. The fact that this summer we were only able to spend around £110 million net spend, and we were told all summer we didn't have the money, financial fair play this, we had to go and beg Fiorentina to loan us Amrabat. We got Regulon on loan. We got we got 2 or 3 loan deals this summer, didn't we? We bought a goalkeeper for 4 million. Obviously we got Rasmus Højlund for a lot of money, like I appreciate that, but generally, when you look at other teams, like the amount of money they've spent, I mean, even if you go and look at PSG, right? PSG this summer got Kolo Muani for 90 million euros, and then also got Gonzalo Ramos for 60 million euros. They bought 2 strikers for over 150 million euros, and obviously they've got Qatar owners. So I'm just showing you where the levels are around Europe, and where is their financial fair play issues? We were told all summer that the reason we weren't able to spend was because of the new UEFA rules. So obviously Manchester United being in a UEFA competition was supposedly unable to spend money because of these new implications that UEFA have put on any team that are competing in the Champions League, in the rest of it. But why is PSG not in that position? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I just think it's a load of rubbish personally. And I still honestly do think that they are going to sell, and I do honestly think that something is going on behind the scenes, and that's why there's been no proper transfer business since the Rasmus Højlund deal. We haven't spent any money for over a month. We sold Elanga, we sold, we sold 4 or 5 players in the last month for actual money. Dean Henderson, Elanga, Alex Telles, all these other people, and we haven't signed anybody. So there's definitely something happening. But yeah, let me know how you feel about that one. Let me know how you feel about the £10 billion price tag. The story then goes on to say, the Glazers hope that Erik ten Hag can deliver more silverware to Manchester United over the next 2 seasons, which will help them to boost the sale price in 2025. So are these Glazers really that stupid that they think that Erik ten Hag is going to go and win the Premier League this season, and in 2025 we're going to be worth more money? It's simply not going to happen. It's not. Like, if they honestly do think that we're going to win the Premier League or the Champions League, they're more deluded than I think. I think we're 3 to 5 years away from being in that conversation personally. I think we're a long, long way away from, competing over a 38-game season with Manchester City. I just think it's very unrealistic, isn't it? Yeah, and then they say that they believe in 2025 the financial and environmental factors will attract more bidders. So I guess that's because of obviously recessions and things at the moment. The stock price of Manchester United they think is low. So you're genuinely telling me that they think 6 billion is an unfair price for something that's worth half of that? It's just a rubbish story. It really, really is. And they're apparently saying, so their source, obviously a journalist has to always give the source. He doesn't have to say who it is, but they have to say that they've got the source from somewhere. It says it's a source with long-standing close ties to the Glazer family. I mean, what a load of rubbish. Somebody who's got long-standing ties to the Glazer family. That's like me being like, oh yeah, I knew this celebrity. I went to school with him 30 years ago. Oh, he was really nice back then. He's a nice person just after he's been accused of something. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just rubbish. It's complete rubbish. It's not like it's actually come from the Glazers itself. It's come from a friend of the Glazers who's told me this. Oh, maybe it's their postman. Maybe it's the milkman who, you know, popped past their house the other day and overheard a conversation. Like, it's just crap. It really is. So yeah, the irrational headline that's been printed across the UK today is that the sale is over. Absolute crap. Absolute rubbish. I don't believe it for a minute. But let's move over to, do let me know your thoughts on the sale process in the comments section. Let me know how you're feeling about it. Do you think that the sale will still go through, or do you think that it's over? Let me know your thoughts below. And let's move over to talk a little bit about the game, because obviously we've got this match day, guys. We will be playing Arsenal in about 8 hours time. We will be doing a watch along for that one, so do make sure you guys are around. We will be live from about 4:30 UK time, so we can confirm the travelling squad for the game today is as follows. So we've got Bayinda, Onana, Vitek. So we've got 3 goalkeepers, which is a bit strange. We've got Dalot, Evans, Lindelof, Maguire, Martinez, Reguilon, Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, Eriksen, Hannibal, Fernandes, Dangor, Anthony, Højlund, Garnacho, Martial, Rashford, Pellistri. So there's a couple of people missing, which I do want to highlight. Obviously, Sancho is not part of the squad to play the game against Arsenal today. Now, has he been dropped? I don't think so. I think that's a bit over the top to say that Sancho's been dropped. He's obviously just injured, isn't he? Why would he not take Sancho if he was available? And then the other person who is, of course, not in the squad is Sofyan Amrabat. Now, I know quite a few of you were really, really hoping, we're really, really hoping to see. Yeah, I know a lot of you were really hoping to see Sofyan Amrabat today, but it does look like he is not going to be part of the squad today, which is unfortunate. It is, because I think, as I've said to you guys many, many times on the channel before, I think players like Sofyan Amrabat are absolutely essential in games like this against Arsenal, because our midfield is incredibly weak against those bigger teams when we go away from home. You know, when we played the Manchester Cities last year, obviously when we went to Liverpool, even when we went to teams like Brentford, Aston Villa, we got absolutely tore to shreds in the midfield and ended up getting thrashed. So I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm worried about the game today. I think it's going to be a draw personally, and I think a draw would be a good result. But yeah, obviously it would have made me a lot more confident to know that Sofyan Amrabat was there. But obviously the squad has been revealed and he is not in the travelling squad. So the 2 people who aren't there are Sofyan Amrabat and Jadon Sancho. Now, we don't know where they are. Obviously, Scott McTominay's not there either. So Scott McTominay's not there, Jadon Sancho's not there, and Sofyan Amrabat's not there. You know what? I had Scott McTominay in my starting 11. I think he would have been a good option. I really, really do. I would have liked to see Scott McTominay start the game today. Not because I think he's a great player, but just because I think he would have suited quite well what we require from him in the system today. I think him and Casemiro as a holding 2 midfield would have been really good. It does look like it will, though, be Eriksen, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes as a midfield 3, which I think it's good attacking wise, but Christian Eriksen having to defend concerns me a lot. But yeah, let me know how you feel about it. Do you think it'll be a good game today? Do you think we'll win? Incognito says, I think we will lose 2-1, but we will see an improved performance. We can kick on from here with our season. Yeah, I think 2-1, I don't know. I would be disappointed if we lose. I would, because we're only 3 games into the season. Arsenal haven't really picked up momentum yet. They obviously drew last week to Fulham at home. So I think a draw is kind of what we need to be aiming for. Anything more than a draw would be incredible. But yeah, I would be disappointed if we lost the game today, because you see teams like Tottenham. You know, Tottenham have done really, really well in these last 4 games. They've won 3 and drawn 1. Like, if we don't get a draw today, I know it's only 4 games into the season, but we'll be like 4 or 5 points behind those teams in the top 4, which obviously can be made up very, very quickly. But, you know, if there's anybody in the chat who thinks that we're going to win the title, which I definitely don't, you need to be going away and beating Arsenal, or at least drawing. You can't be losing to Arsenal. You know, you can't you can't have lost your 2 out of your first 4 games if you want any aspirations of, finishing second or even first. So it's a must-win game today. Obviously, after this, we've got the international break, so we'll be away for 2 weeks. We've got a 2-week break. I do expect, obviously, Sofian Amrabat will be back and in the squad after that. We've got Brighton at home as soon as we come back from the international break, which I think will be a difficult game, but I think is a winnable game. Obviously, we lost that game last season. I was at that game and we played absolutely terrible last year against Brighton at home. So, you know what? The way I see this season is we've got to take it in baby steps. So, obviously, last season, we lost the first 2 games of the season, didn't we? This season, we've won 1 of the last 2. So that's an improvement. I know the football hasn't been great. Arsenal, we lost against at the Emirates last season. We've got to go there and get a draw. That would be an improvement. All you can do is improve on each result that you had last season and try and pick up some more points. And then at the end of the season, we can see where we are. And hopefully that's in a better position than where we are now. And I think it would be, I think a draw against Arsenal is a good result. I do. I think it's a good result. They're at home. They're good at home. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. What's your score predictions for the game today? Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Yeah, right. Let's move on with the rest of the show, though. Just a quick one as well. I just wanted to give a big up to Charlie McNeil, obviously one of our youth players who is someone really, really promising, someone that I'm quite excited about for the future. He's gone on loan to Stevenage and scored a goal on his debut for Stevenage. So big ups to Charlie McNeil. Hopefully the rest of his loan goes well. And keeping on the game later on today, there is some news that apparently Thomas Partey will miss the game today, which I think is a massive, massive loss for Arsenal. I think Thomas Partey is one of their better players. Obviously, he's been playing at right back this season, which is a little bit weird. I'm not sure what Arteta's playing at there, but yeah, Thomas Partey out of that midfield, I think that's a plus for us, because obviously then they're still going to have Declan Rice, they're still going to have Odegaard, so it'll probably be Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Kai Havertz as their midfield 3. But I think Thomas Partey's quality, so yeah, him being out of the game, I think, is a big, big loss for Arsenal today. Just a quick one as well on Sofian Amrabat. He is now in Manchester. There is pictures. His agents put up pictures of him at Carrington. So he has now arrived into Manchester. Obviously, we know that he's already signed, but he was in Florence still. He did his medical over in Italy, but he has now arrived back in England ahead of all the official marketing photos and all the rest of it. So we can expect to see, the pictures of Amrabat and the shirt and all of that good stuff. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit of the show going through some of what Ten Hag said. He did a press conference last night, which I thought was really, really interesting. He was talking about, obviously, the game today. He was talking about what to expect from the season ahead. And he said the following. He said, "I remember well that at the start of my second season in Utrecht, it was difficult. Part of that was due to the loss of many players. You have to integrate new players. It was the same at Ajax when we lost Matthias de Ligt and Frankie de Jong. It wasn't easy. Every season is tough at the start. In the meantime, it's all about getting points. You have to get points at the start, and from there you gain confidence. Then you will see that it is much better and more fluid when you are further along in the process." Now, I do completely agree with him there. I think it's very easy to over-obsess about how people are playing in the first 2 or 3 games of the season, okay? And people are saying, oh, we don't see a style of play and all the rest of it. I think it's too early to be making that type of criticism, and I agree with Erik Ten Hag there. We've brought in quite a few players. We've got quite a few injuries. You have a big break in the summer where people don't play. You go off on a really long tour. It does take time to fully re-implement your tactics and your methods. So I'm not judging Erik Ten Hag by these first few games. And if you want to be fair about it, this time last year we had 3 points out of our first 3 games. This year we've got 6. So even if the football's not better, we have got more points than we did last season. At the end of the day, football is a results business, and he has 3 more points than he did at this point last year. Now, the reason that I said I think we should be getting a result against Arsenal is because what Erik Ten Hag said here applies to every team. Every team apart from Manchester City looks a little bit rusty at the moment, don't they? Newcastle, they've lost their first 3 games out of 4. Brighton are top of the league. Like, it's all a bit crazy at the moment, isn't it? It hasn't really settled back out yet. And I think that this is the prime opportunity, 3 or 4 games into the season, to go away to Arsenal and to beat them. And that's what... It's not what needs to happen, but if we have any aspirations of doing anything better than top 4, we need to go and beat Arsenal. And some might even say that we need to beat Arsenal today in order to get top 4. Because ultimately they are one of our biggest rivals, aren't they, for those top 4 positions. If we go and beat... But the thing is, right, I'm going to be completely fair here, yeah? If we beat Arsenal today, Sky Sports will be saying we should be winning the league by tomorrow. You wait for it. there'll be pundits coming out on TalkSport and all the rest of it saying Manchester United should be winning the league, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to happen. I can already see the headlines being printed. If we lose, they'll be saying maybe Erik ten Hag should be sacked. It's just reactionary. The same as it is with this takeover story. It's all just clickbait headlines that, you know, try and, just try and get clicks ultimately. And there's a story coming out this morning as well, which is quite interesting, coming from James Ducker in the Telegraph, talking about Erik ten Hag. And he says, Erik ten Hag's desire for near complete control over recruitment is unsurprising and understandable given Manchester United's past record in the market. But having invested so much trust in his narrow transfer policy, United will need it to pay off. So again, like I just said, there's already people questioning Erik ten Hag's transfer policy. I don't really see how you can question it personally. The only reason that he wants complete control is because John Murtaugh and Richard Arnold are useless. Like, if you've got a serious CEO and director of football ahead of you, like, they just say, no, Eric, we're the director of football. I'm the CEO. We make the decisions. We'll give you a list of players. So I don't really think giving him criticism is fair, because the Glazers should have a proper CEO and a proper director of football. They shouldn't have two men who specialise in finance being the director of football. The word is director of football. It's not director of finance. It's director of football. You need a football expert. So yeah, that's my take on that one. Everybody who's just watching, can you please smash a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel if you are new here today. If you aren't new, obviously, welcome back. But if you are new, please do subscribe. And let's crack on with the rest of the show. Do let me know how you feel about that one, though. Do you agree with me? Do you think that Manchester United really need a new director of football? And who would you go for? Who would be your director of football? I would probably go for... Is Paul Mitchell still available? I'm just having a quick look. Obviously, he was at Monaco, wasn't he? I know he was one that we were linked to heavily. I know Sir Jim Ratcliffe said that he would try and get Paul Mitchell if he got the club. Yeah, so Paul Mitchell's at Monaco at the moment. I think someone like him would be good. But yeah, let me know who your preferred director of football would be in the comments section below. Nico says, Kieran, there's no way we're getting a result today. 4-0 to Arsenal. The team were lucky to beat Nottingham Forest and Wolves. I disagree with you about Nottingham Forest. I don't think we were lucky to beat Nottingham Forest. I think we absolutely dominated Nottingham Forest for most of that game. They had two very lucky, sloppy goals, and the rest of the game, we should have scored 5 or 6 goals against Nottingham Forest. So I wouldn't go as far as saying we were lucky, but I 100% agree with you that we were lucky to beat Wolves. Very, very lucky. Wolves should have beaten us. Yeah, and that was pure luck that we beat them. We've got a quick one as well on some shirt numbers. I can see people are saying it in the chat, so I'm going to mention it anyway. So apparently Alejandro Garnacho will be number 17 and Rasmus Højlund's going to be number 11. And let me know as well, guys, who do you want to see start the game today? Do you think Rasmus Højlund will start? What is your preferred lineup? Noel says we have plenty to be positive. We have to be positive plenty of time after the match if we lose to be negative. So come on, let's be positive. Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. 100%. There's no point in being negative all the time. You know, you just can't. What's the point? What's the point in living your life like that? So we're going to go back to the quotes about Ten Hag really quickly. So Ten Hag has also said the following: you can't afford injuries and we need a squad. We need squad depth and you need quality in that squad depth. We have so we can sort out injuries and we put out a good team on the pitch on Sunday, a team that's capable of winning against Arsenal. So he's kind of dismissing the injury crisis, but he's also kind of mentioning it. Erik ten Hag is one of those people in his press conference who, let's be honest, it's like getting blood out of a stone. He doesn't really give much away. He's not very... I don't want to say he's not inspiring, because I think he just doesn't like speaking to the press. I think he likes coaching the players. I think he finds the press in England are the worst in the world, aren't they? When you see some of the questions they ask, I think it's... A lot of the time it's quite invasive. Yeah, so we know that Erik ten Hag doesn't like the press, do we? At all. So I don't really blame him for keeping it hush-hush a little bit, but... What do you guys think of Erik ten Hag in his press conferences? Do you like what he says? Do you find it a little bit painful at times? It's one of those ones, isn't it, where I do find him a bit painful to listen to, but I know that he's intentionally being like that. I know that he just doesn't like speaking to them. No one says Van der Sar for director of football. I don't think Van der Sar was the director of football at Ajax, was he? I think it was it not Mark Overmars? What was his role at Ajax? What's he called? Edwin van der Sar. I might be wrong there. Let me double check. Role at Ajax. Yeah, so he was the CEO. Van der Sar was the CEO and chairman of the managing board. I think the director of football was Mark Overmars. So it's not the same. It's not the same role. It's a different role. So yeah. So in theory, you could get Van der Sar as the CEO, who would replace. I can't remember which one's which. Is it John Murtagh who's the CEO? Or is it Richard Arnold? I think it's Richard Arnold, isn't it? Who's the CEO? Yeah. So you'd get John. You could get. Yeah. So Richard Arnold is the CEO. So you could get Edwin van der Sar to replace him as the CEO, and then you could get someone like Paul Mitchell as the director of football. The current director of football at Ajax is called Sven Mislintat. It was Mark Overmars before, wasn't it? But he got removed from the role. So yeah, it's not the same position. It's not the same person. Andrew says, does anybody know what Højlund's number will be? Apparently it's going to be number 11, mate. 111. 111? Number 11. And apparently Garnacho is going to be number 17. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. You know, that's what's being said. But until we see them on the pitch, it hasn't been announced by the club yet, is what I'm saying. So we'll have to wait and see what happens later on today. What else have we got here? Mark says Erik ten Hag is turning into a company man, a Glazer spokesperson. I don't agree with you on that, mate. But obviously, you're entitled to your opinion. Irvin says, Kieran, on a funny side, I think the number 11 shirt is unlucky. Giggs, Greenwood, Martial injuries. Reason we should not give this number to Højlund. I don't know, mate. I'm not really I don't really believe in like superstition and stuff like that. So it's just a number on a shirt, isn't it? It's not like it's cursed, is it? Carl says, was it only me or did Erik ten Hag look angry in yesterday's presser? Mate, Erik ten Hag looks angry in every press conference. He does. He looks absolutely fuming. When you saw him being asked about Harry Maguire a couple of weeks ago, he literally looked livid. He was there like, I'm so happy Harry Maguire is going to stay. And he literally looked like you could see steam coming out of his ears. It's one of those ones, right, where I remember Jose Mourinho's press conferences. They were pure comedy gold. Like, he was a character. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to see someone like Erik ten Hag who keeps his cards close to his chest, or do you prefer to see someone like Jose Mourinho who goes out in his press conferences? You know, he sees it like he's the main man, and he tries to work the crowd. And what do you prefer? What kind of manager do you like the most? Bill says Brighton tore Arsenal apart yesterday. Great football. Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody saying this earlier. Actually, it was one of my friends who was a Newcastle fan, and he was saying, obviously, the Newcastle fans are 110% behind the team. They're 110% behind Eddie Howe as manager. But how long do you think it will be before, the owners of Newcastle are starting to think about sacking Eddie Howe? Like, do you think that is a conversation they're already having? Or do you think he's kind of secured in his job? Because we know how ambitious they are. They will want Champions League football this season. If anybody's watched that Amazon Prime documentary, their goal for the first season was Champions League football in season 1. That is crazy. Right, I'll read out a couple of your questions quickly as well. What have we got here? Matt says, I couldn't stand Ollie smiling. Yeah, I mean, Ollie was the worst in his press conferences, wasn't he? He was so frustrating to watch. Really, really frustrating. Matt says, the Arsenal fan channels are saying they're not confident of winning. Honestly, I know people have been saying that we've not been good the last 2 or 3 games, but I thought against Nottingham Forest, we should have scored way more goals than we did. Like, we should have scored 4 or 5 goals easily, maybe more. Bruno should have scored another. Casemiro should have scored another. There was plenty of opportunities to score in that game. And I think that these chances are going to start being converted soon, especially if Rasmus Højlund starts. But Rasmus Højlund has to start for me, 100%. Somebody says, what's Amrabat's jersey number? I'm not sure, mate. I have a feeling he's going to be number 4, but don't hold me to that. Right, I'm gonna start a poll quickly because we have hit our like target for the video. Everybody who's just joined, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So the poll for this section of the show is going to be, it's going to be this. What will the result be against Arsenal today? How do you spell Arsenal? Arsenal, there we go. Win, draw, lose. All right, so the poll is being set up now. Get involved in the poll, guys. What is your prediction for the game against Arsenal today? Let me know on the poll. Let's have a look. Let's read out a couple of your questions as well. Right. Exit Light says, Ollie was great in his press conferences. What are you on about? I don't agree, mate. I don't. Like, Ollie was just the smiley face who agreed with everything, who laughed. He was more calming to watch, let's say. But once you lost faith in him, and he's there like, oh, the boys played great football after we've just lost 4-0. Oh, I'm really happy with the boys. And you're just like all you can do is just put your hands in your head, innit? Exit Light says, can we have a poll about whether people want polls? I mean, yes, I guess so. Malp says the timing of the story from the Mail saying that Sale off is suspicious. Straight after the transfer window, this story comes out. I don't believe it. Yeah, mate, 100%. We did obviously speak about this at length earlier, but just quickly, the same newspaper a week ago said that the club was already sold to Qatar. So it's just rubbish. It is. Graham says Newcastle should have bid for Harry Maguire. Yeah, mate, they should have. They should have. Newcastle have lost their first 3 out of 4 games. Like, that's not good, is it? That really isn't good. And I mean, let's look at Chelsea for a second as well. Like, Chelsea have got 4 points out of 4 games. Like, that is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Who like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Chelsea sack Poch. Not now, obviously, but if they carry on in the form that they are, like, they're not playing very good football either, from what I've seen. And you know what the Chelsea owners like. What else have we got? Let's read out a couple of your questions quickly. Lots of people getting their score predictions in, which is obviously much appreciated. I will have a look through them in a minute. Dark7 says, we're going to smash them. Insane score, 4 or 3-0. Wow. I mean, we did beat them in pre-season, didn't we? And we had people like Kobe Mainoo playing and stuff. But I don't know. I don't think pre-season is a very good indication of how the rest of the season is going to go. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea losing to Nottingham Forest at home. Losing to Chelsea. And then also drawing with Liverpool. Sorry, losing to West Ham. Yeah, I mean, they've had a terrible start to the season, haven't they, Chelsea? Considering they spent £1 billion. Absolutely awful. Bill says, I've worked in Saudi for years and they want big results for little money. If Eddie Howe doesn't deliver, then he's gone. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't. Like, after watching that Amazon Prime documentary, I've seen how ambitious their owners are. The fact that they wanted, Champions League football in the first season is crazy. After they were, nearly relegated the year before, it shows it, doesn't it? Do get your questions in the live chat as well. I will read out a couple of questions before the show ends. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show, so if you do have any questions you want to put in, drop them in the live chat now, and I will read them out in a minute. Got a couple of other things to read out before the show ends, so do get involved. I have a question for you, actually, guys. I want you to let me know. Do you think Reguilon will start against Arsenal today? And would you start him? I'm not sure. He did train on Friday, so he has trained. I think they trained yesterday as well. So, I mean, he should be able to start, yeah. Would you start Reguilon over Diogo Dalot? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Obviously, he is a proper left-back, whereas Diogo Dalot's a right-back who can also play at left-back. So, maybe he'll be worth starting. I mean, we've paid the money for him, haven't we? We're paying his wages. He's on 120 grand a week. What's the point in bringing him in if you can't even start him? So maybe we should. Let me know your thoughts. Should Reguilon start against Arsenal today? Irvin says, is Harry Maguire on the bench? Yes, he is. Harry Maguire is in the squad today, yeah. He is. The only people who aren't in the squad today, just to recap, is Scott McTominay, Sofian Amrabat and Jadon Sancho. They weren't pictured travelling to Arsenal. Whether or not they've travelled individually, obviously that is possible. Lots of people saying, yes, I would start Reguilon. Some are saying I should start Dalot. I did put Dalot in my team prediction, but that was only because I didn't know whether Reguilon had trained at that point, and apparently he has trained a couple of times with the team. Somebody says, would Ange have been better than Erik ten Hag for Manchester United? No, I don't think so, mate. I don't. I think, look, the thing is, right, this Ange guy's come into Tottenham. He seems like a good manager. Obviously, they absolutely thrashed someone yesterday, didn't they? Was it Burnley? Yeah, 5-2 they won. They beat us. I think that was because of our own capitulation. I think we should have been 2 or 3-0 up in the first half against Tottenham. I didn't think Tottenham looked very good. And then in the second half, we completely fell apart and they won the game. So I'm not going to give them much credit for the game against us because I think that was a lot of our own wrongdoing. We could have won that game against Tottenham and we should have won it. That first half, we should have been 2 or 3-0 up going into half time. And then it would have just been a case of holding out for the second half. So I don't know. I wouldn't, to say, should we have got Ange after 4 games? He's got 10 points after 4 games. Obviously, that's great. Incredible. Let's see how he does when he goes and plays Liverpool, when he plays Manchester City, when he comes to Manchester United at home. Let's see how he does then. Let's judge him at the end of the season. To say that he should be brought in instead of Erik ten Hag, I think is a little bit of an easy swing at Erik ten Hag. It's the same as being like, oh, we should have got the manager from Brighton. I just think it's a different kettle of fish. Managing Tottenham, there's zero expectations. They haven't won a trophy. I don't think they've won a trophy in, what is it, 15 years, 20 years? There's no pressure on him at all. If he loses a match, nobody's surprised. If Erik ten Hag loses a game, there's people asking for him to be sacked. Tottenham fans have no expectations. Like, you know, they've put up with so much over the years that they're probably living in dreamland now. So, I don't know. For me, it's a no. Bob the Builder says, Son was unplayable yesterday. Yeah, mate, Son is a quality player. I don't know why. I think Son started as a striker, didn't he, yesterday? Which I think is way better for Tottenham than Richarlison. I don't rate Richarlison at all. Yeah, Son played as a striker and got a hat-trick yesterday. I mean, that sums it up, doesn't it? They don't even need Harry Kane. Just stick Son up front and he gets you a hat-trick. Quality. Somebody says, we will beat Arsenal with loads of exclamation marks. I like the positivity. Very nice. Carl says, Erik ten Hag is 100% right for us. He just needs backup and funds, right? 100%, mate. 100%. I have absolutely no doubt that Erik ten Hag is the right man for the job. But as I've said to you guys before on this channel, the problem is the owners. We need a director of football. We need a CEO. We need proper scouts. I think unless all of that comes in, then it's going to be a very long time before we're winning Premier League trophies. Personally, even with Erik ten Hag, I think we're a long way away from it. And it's because of all the stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes. But yeah, he's definitely the right man for the job for me. Carl says, what is Reguilón's wages? He's on 120 grand a week and we're paying 100% of it. So yeah, make of that what you will. Luma says, Kieran, would you play more offensive or defensive today? I think we'll play a 4-2-3-1 today. Obviously, Scott McTominay's not in the squad, so I imagine it will be Eriksen and Casemiro as the kind of midfield two, and then Bruno further forward, Rashford on the left, Højlund up front, and Anthony on the right. I think that will be the team anyway. And you know what? We can beat Arsenal. We can. Then they haven't started picking up much form yet. They looked okay in the first two games. They didn't look great against Fulham. I think we can go there and get a result. I'm hoping for a draw at the minimum. Anything less than a draw, if we go there and get battered, I'll be disappointed. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. Right, what else have we got? Matt says Erik ten Hag didn't get backed in January either. Yeah, he didn't, mate. He didn't. Well, I mean, he got backed with Weghorst, which kind of sums it up, doesn't it? You get rid of Cristiano Ronaldo, the greatest goal scorer of all time, and you bring in Weghorst. Like, that just shows where, you know, the funding was for them. Somebody says, is this the year that Scott McTominay finally gets the Ballon d'Or? I mean, that would be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be very nice if Scott McTominay got the Ballon d'Or. I think it's incredibly unlikely. Anybody who's just joining late asking about the takeover, please just rewind to the beginning of the video and you will get all of the information that you were looking for. I'm just checking if there's any more questions before we wrap up the video. I think those are all the questions. Let's have a look. Oh, there's a couple more coming in quickly. Lucas says, what's the... Yeah, we've spoke about that. Irvin says, who is the surprise new player? Mate, the surprise new player is Johnny Evans. So don't act too shocked. Obviously, I'm joking, but it is a surprise, isn't it? Like, who would have expected us to have Johnny Evans in our team at the beginning of the transfer window? I definitely did not. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will, of course, be live for the watch along at about 4 p.m. UK time. Please do smash a like on the video, and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new on your way out. Try and have a nice morning, a nice day wherever you are in the world, and I'll speak to you guys a little bit later.